Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over Koma Cosmos Serpent. So, let's get into it. This week was a really nice week of VIP for me because it netted me this card right here. And of the cards that I've played with from Kaldheim, this card is second in power to only the Prismatic Bridge. This card is absolutely ridiculous, and you really don't need that many other cards in order to make it good. It's 21 mana for a 9/9. It's a legendary creature, it's a serpent. It cannot have its mana drained or raised. And then at the beginning of each player's turn, so your turn and your opponent's turn, populate 2 times. If you're unfamiliar with the populate mechanic, it's going to reinforce the first creature token you control with the greatest base power. So whichever creature is going to be able to get the biggest boost from being reinforced is the creature that's going to get reinforced. And then it also has, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may destroy target token creature you control. If you do, the first opposing creature is disabled until the beginning of your next turn. Then if the destroyed creature is reinforced 9 or more times, this creature gets +X and gains hexproof until the beginning of your next turn. X is 3 plus the number of that creature's reinforcements. Now I'm sort of speeding through that ability because you're really not going to be destroying your own token creatures. At the time of my recording this video, Koma is actually disabling the opponent's creatures, even if you choose not to destroy your creature. So not only is it ridiculous without that ability, that bug, but it's with that bug, it's just even more ridiculous because then it gives you control on top of the incredible damage. So if you're lucky enough to have Koma, how do you make it so that you break it, right? And the idea is to try and really break that populate, because if you're going to be populating 4 times for every one of your turns, you're going to be able to do some really dirty things. Now, the way that I wound up going about building around Koma is I wound up building around Karn and around Kiora, which are the 2 planeswalkers that have the greatest base power toughness tokens in green to take advantage of. So if we take a look at Karn and Karn's abilities, Karn's third ability, Argentum's Legacy? Argentum's? I don't know. I'm bad at that thing. You're going to create a Karn's Major Construct token. That token is a 12/12, meaning that every single time it rotates to your turn, if you've got Koma out and you've gotten this token down, this token's going to get +48/+48 for every single one of your turns just for having Koma down. So you play it, and then by the time it's your turn again, it's already going to become a 60/60. So it drops down as a 12/12, and then by the time it's your next turn, it's going to be a 60/60, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Your opponent really gets 1 turn to respond to this thing, and then it goes and does horrible things to them. And it's only 12 loyalty also. Like that's the other benefit to Karn, is that with Karn, it's only going to cost 12 loyalty to get your token. Now with Kiora, Kiora's third ability is going to be making octopus tokens, right? So that From the Depths is going to make 4 of those 8/8 blue octopi with reach and trample. Now, because this is a base 8/8 instead of a base 12/12, it means that you're going to be getting 32 power every time it rotates back around to your turn, which definitely is not as strong as the 48 for every time it rotates back around to your turn. But you've got the added bonus of these tokens having reach and them coming onto the battlefield more strongly because you're getting 4 of these 8/8s instead of 1 of the 12/12s. The downside to running Kiora instead of Karn is that Kiora's third ability is going to cost you 24 loyalty, so you really need to have something like Whirlwind of Thought or Gem Conversion to be able to get to that third ability reliably. But nonetheless, you can run either of them safely and absolutely destroy your opponent. So the decks that I'm going to be using in this video, and I'm going to be making 2 videos for this. I'm going to be making my how do we use it for free to play and how do we use it for people with more extensive collections. This is for people with more extensive collections, right? I wound up running this deck right here with Kiora. So I ran Koma along with Yasharn. The purpose of Yasharn is so that I could get my cards with land forming and put them directly in my hand. And so 1 casting of Yasharn guarantees that I'm going to get Turn Timber Symbiosis, because it's one of my 2 cards with land forming in the deck, which means that I'm guaranteed to get a Koma. So the idea is I wanted to have as many different situations available that could get me Koma, and Turn Timber Symbiosis also serves that dual purpose of creating that Turn Timber Serpentine Wood token, which is going to give me gem conversion, which will ideally get me to my third ability more quickly. Colony Ambush is just here to sort of serve as a potential removal card and to also give me a little bit more flexibility with Yasharn coming out. I could use this, try and pop an opponent's creature, and get a gem converting token. I've got Reclaim the Wastes and Realms Uncharted. For those of you who have seen my Yasharn is kind of the best core in Standard, you'll see that I'm basically running that core in this video. I've got Yasharn, Turn Timber, Reclaim the Wastes, and Realms Uncharted. These are going to make it so that I am guaranteed going to be getting Koma. I'm going to be getting Koma with probably a lot of loyalty because these are going to be converting gems and getting me my fetches. And then to round out this particular deck, I'm running Animist's Awakening just to get a little bit of extra gem conversion going, along with Whirlwind of Thought to get some more loyalty, and for my lands, Castle Garenbrig and the World Tree. So this deck is incredibly effective. If you wanted to try it out, go ahead. I think you will be very pleased with it. Now, that in mind, the deck that was definitely more effective was this Karn deck. So for the Karn deck, I'm running Koma and the Prismatic Bridge. So the first thing that you're going to notice with this is I'm running a lot higher mana cost cards, and there's a really good reason for it. So Karn's first ability lets you fetch things from your library, and then you get a permanent mana boost. And so Karn with the Prismatic Bridge is kind of nutty, because the Prismatic Bridge is going to boost all 5 of your mana bonuses, which is just really ridiculous. And then Ruinous Ultimatum, Emergent Ultimatum, and Whirlwind of Thought, all being 3-colored cards, are going to all increase your mana bonuses also. That said, you'll see that when I'm playing this deck, I'm really not using my first ability if I can avoid it, because I'm really just trying to get that third ability token down along with Koma. And between Emergent Ultimatum, which is going to fetch me Koma, guaranteed, either because I'm getting Koma itself, or because I'm getting Turn Timber Symbiosis, because Emergent Ultimatum is going to force you to discard a card, you're guaranteed getting Koma out of this, is the idea though, right? You're guaranteed getting it. So if you discard Turn Timber, you play the Koma. If you discard the Koma, you play Turn Timber. And either way, you're getting it. The rest of the deck is very similar to the Kiora deck. I've got Nissa's Pilgrimage, Garenbrig, and World Tree for gem conversion. Here I've got Ruinous Ultimatum and Mythos of Nethroi for removal, and I've once again got Whirlwind of Thought. This deck is definitely better. This deck is way better than the Kiora deck. Having this token come out for half the loyalty and having greater base power toughness makes this a way better option. And so you will see that the Karn match is just kind of silly fast, and you'll find that if you play this deck with Karn, you're going to have some really silly fast matches too. So let's go ahead and check out that gameplay. It was fun. I giggled quite a bit, actually. You won't hear me giggling because I'm voicing over the content, but you know, that's whatever. It's awesome. So match number 1 is going to be with Karn. And I've got a pretty ideal starting hand. I've got Nissa's Pilgrimage, which is going to give me gem conversion. Ideally, that will help me get some loyalty to get to my third ability. And I've got the Prismatic Bridge, which is going to help me get Koma. So kind of a perfect situation here. As for gem matches, I had a 5 match, and I've got a blue and a black on the bottom, which is pretty ideal also. So this is looking like a pretty good start to the match. My opponent does get a turn 1 creature down, which is kind of unfortunate. But you'll see that I'm already at my third ability. I have a Mythos of Nethroi charged up in my hand, so I'm definitely going to go ahead and use that. And so turn 2, I'm going to be able to drop my Prismatic Bridge, and I've got the Karn token down. So things are looking pretty good here. I really don't see too many ways that this Jace is going to be able to win at this stage. If you've got your deck set up with Koma and you've got the board state in your favor like this, it's really, really hard to lose. Like, the only thing that can stop you pretty much is a Ruinous Ultimatum, because it will get rid of your bridge and it will get rid of your creature state. But that's really just about the only type of thing. Like the Great Aurora will do that too, but there aren't too many ways that your opponent's going to be able to just completely stop you. So you'll see that Karn's token reinforces twice. So it's going to boost up to 36, and then it's going to reinforce twice more at the start of my turn. So just having this Koma down with the Karn token made the Karn token go from a 12-12 to a 60-60 in just one of my turns, right? So unfortunately, I've only got 78 power on the battlefield. That's not quite enough to kill Jace, but it will be soon. And one of the really great things about this is that you build up power so quickly that this is a deck that is going to absolutely melt PvE opponents, also on top of PvP opponents, because I mean, like, I'm already at 60 power on the Karn token. You'll see that the Karn token's going to boost here to 84, which means that on my next turn, it's going to be boosting to 108. And so with that, there's really no surviving this. And I mean, like, even if you're against a PvE opponent, right? You've just got so much power on the battlefield. It's ridiculous. And so you also probably saw that Koma froze down the Seagate Oracle there, which it was not supposed to do because I did not sacrifice my token. But that's the end of Jace and Snuggle, who I oddly seem to run into a lot. So let's get into the next match. For match number 2, I'm using Kiora, and you'll notice that this game is actually going to take a little bit longer, even though, I mean, you look at my starting hand, I've got a Whirlwind of Thought, I've got a 5-match in green, I've got Koma, but even with that, it's still going to take quite a bit longer, just because Kiora has to build up to twice the amount of loyalty that Karn does, and then the tokens that Kiora plays aren't quite as strong as Karn's. So I kind of feel like Karn is the best choice walker to use here, but nonetheless, you'll see that Kiora here is absolutely filthy. So Koth gets a 5-match, which is a little bit of a bummer, but then Koth starts dropping garbage. So I'm really not too concerned about whatever else it is that Koth is going to be using here, just because neither of those creatures are even remotely intimidating. I still want to try to avoid giving Koth red matches, but you'll see that I kind of fail to do that there, but not the end of the world. So I've already got Koma in my hand. I do not need to kick to try and get a turn timber. It's not an issue. My opponent does get a Shadow Spear down, and then they destroy one of my supports like an awful jerk, but it's, once again, not the end of the world. So we've already got our 3rd ability, which means that we can go ahead and play our little, not Hydra tokens. They are Kraken tokens, that's right. I don't know why I thought that they were Hail Hydra, right? No, but really, I don't know. Anyways, we're going to use our 3rd ability here. We're able to boost there pretty quickly because we have Whirlwind of Thought. If you don't have Whirlwind of Thought, that's okay. You'll see in my video on how to build around Koma for newer players. You don't need all of these mythics and masterpieces and stuff that I'm using, but they definitely do help. So the octopus tokens are now going to kill Karn's entire board. It's pretty hard to get through a 32-32 reach out of nowhere, which definitely makes them really, really deadly. And that's one of the nice things about Kiora's tokens as opposed to Karn's token, is that they'll defend for you. And so here we've got 2 Reclaim the Wastes, we've got Komas ready. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and freeze down one of the Komas. I'm freezing one of them down just because if Karn somehow manages to destroy this Koma, I don't want to be without a Koma. I've actually already got enough mana on my Koma that I can kick the Reclaim the Wastes to maybe pick up just another good card with landforming, and voila, our octopus tokens are buffing like crazy. So we've got 73 power on the board. I could play another Koma and just end the match right here, but I am actually going to avoid playing another Koma here. Just so that I can get the octopus tokens as large as possible. Like in a normal match, I would just play the Koma and be like, all right, to heck with it. This is done. But for videos, I like to try and make my dudes even bigger. So it's fun that way. I know that many of you probably are the same. You want to try and get them to 100 power, which was actually my goal here. My goal here was to try and see if there was a way for me to get my octopi to 100 power. So you'll see that I'm using my gem conversion here. I'm going to use Reclaim the Wastes. I'm going to kick it to try and just get a little bit more going. I am not going to sacrifice my octopus tokens. You'll see that once again, that bug appears where we freeze down the opponent's first creature when we should not be freezing down our opponent's first creature. We get another gem match, we get another one, and we aren't quite at our 3rd ability. The octopus is at 96 power, but nonetheless, this showcases the absolutely ridiculous power of Koma, right? I mean, just with Planeswalker abilities and Koma, we're able to do these horrible, horrible things, which are going to be amazing for both PvE or PvP. Koth is definitely dead here. So I'm not going to be sacrificing my tokens again. I'm just going to swing, and Koth is Curse Plat. So let's get into the conclusion. So in conclusion, Koma is an absolutely ridiculous card, be it if you play it with just Planeswalker abilities, as I did in this video, or you choose to pair it with, say, some of the Herald cards, as those all count as tokens, Or even if you wind up having the Merit Lage token, so you decide to do something like that with the Snow Gems. But Koma is an absolute must-have card. It's very, very powerful. I really like it. So it's not as must-have as the Prismatic Bridge, because you're not necessarily going to be using this in events all the time, but it's one of those really strong cards that's nice to have just because it's so strong. Now, the really good thing about Koma is that Koma is going to have its full art variant. So I mentioned in my video about the full art cards that Koma is one of the ones that I suggest you target, and I very strongly suggest you target this card. You will be able to pick this up for 400 mana crystals when it becomes available in Fiblethip's vault. So you just have to play through Fiblethip, and then you'll be able to unlock getting the wares from the vault, and so you'll be able to pick up Koma, and you'll see that Koma with the full art is the exact same as Koma regular, so there's no difference between the two. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.